What is going on, everybody? It's your man, Cactiman here. So, I recently purchased this kind of rare dragon fruit cutting. Um, I think it's a variety that the dragon fruit community kind of hasn't seen before. So, I was really excited today to try to, start growing it. But of course, you can see it's kind of like a vining dragon fruit, right? So if I put this on a trellis right now by itself, it's going to take forever to just start growing. So I decided that to get this thing to bloom and to fruit as fast as humanly possible, I'm going to try to attempt to graft it onto a rootstock. So that way, we do grafting so that this can act as a base to this, So basically this is acting like a springboard for this plant. So this plant's going to do all the hard work of spreading out roots, taking up nutrients, getting sunlight, and pumping all of its energy from its root shoots to this plant right here. So this plant is gonna kind of act like a parasite to this plant. More like a symbiotic relationship, but that's the idea. So anyways, I thought it'd be a cool video idea if I showed you guys just exactly how I grafted, what the process is to grafting a skinny little dragon fruit like this onto a big mature rootstock just like this. Because normally, you just slice off the top of this, slice off the top of this, match it up, tape it up, and then there you go, boom, grafted. But you can't really do that with this because, as you can see, this is tiny. This is like little, gangly little kind of, cuttings. Here's my finger for comparison. It's like the width of my finger, even less. So, how the heck are we going to do it? Well, let me show you guys. Let me change the angle right here for the camera. All right, guys. So, before we begin, we're going to need a few tools. So we'll need some shears, some garden shears, some bigger ones preferably, ones that can kind of fit around your whole plant. So these are kind of small, but they'll do. You'll need an incredibly sharp knife, like really sharp. So I've got here my handy dandy Opinel number 8, but really any knife will do as long as it's really sharp. And then after that, I've got some micro port tape. Or you can use any tape, really. Scotch tape will do, but I like to use this one because it's breathable. You can get these on Amazon for like, I think $10 for a 12-pack, which will last you years. Like, trust me, years. Yeah, I got this on Amazon too. I think this was like $6 for a pack of 3. Scissors to cut the tape. You can find that anywhere. And then I got these. I got a cellophane bag for the end, basically a candy bag that I'll use to cover the graft once it's done. And I also get myself some 70% isopropyl alcohol to keep everything sterile. Okay, so for setup, I got myself a little table. I put a trash bag over it so I can clean up everything once I'm done. But before we begin, I'm going to take all my tools. I'm going to make sure everything is nice and sterile. So I'll spray all my tools with the isopropyl alcohol. Make sure they're all sterile so I don't transfer any disease. Make sure, I get this graft, as high a chance as possible to actually take. So everything will get sprayed down 70% so it can kill everything. So I'll put that off to the side. So you can let it air dry, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a napkin and wipe it all off. Preferably let it air dry to really kill all the bacteria, but no one really actually does all the directions. So yeah, just clean that off. All right, and then we're ready to go. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our micropore tape. We're going to cut about, I'd say probably around 4 or 5 inches of tape or so. And then we're going to cut the tape into lengthwise strips about a 1/4 inch across. I already did that. So this is what that'll look like. We'll save that for the end, but just cut that, put it off to the side. So now, time to begin. So, what we're trying to do is get this plant right here onto this rootstock. So it may seem impossible, but this is what I'm going to do. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make everything fresh, right? So you might have you want to have a rootstock set up already beforehand. Make sure it's all rooted, make sure it has growth so it's established. So there's roots in here, and I know it's going to be able to support this instead of trying to root itself before anything else, So because it's set up already, because it's a mature rootstock, what we are going to do is we're going to quickly snip off the top of this plant so that everything can be nice and fresh, right? So go ahead and just slice all the way across. Try to get as clean a slice as possible to reduce any of any ridges or so. There we go. Yeah, so this is why it's important to have bigger shears. There we go. That's why it's important to have bigger shears so that you can actually like reach all the way across, right? But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this across as best as I can. There we go. Expose myself, take out the top layer of plant, expose a fresh layer of plant on top right there, as you can see. Yeah. So, next step we're going to do is we're going to take our tiny little graft, right? And what I'm going to do is I want to look for the thickest one, right? So the idea is that we're going to take the top of this plant, we're going to hollow out the inside, and then we're going to stick it over this part right here, and hopefully that works out. So I'm going to look for the thickest one. It looks like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just snap off this little growth. That's very painful to do, but that actually gives me a little opportunity, because when I snapped this off, it revealed on this little plant, right? This little tiny toothpick right here, right? This is the cambium, okay? So in the middle of each dragon fruit, you have something called the cambium, which is this, right? So it's really thin in this little branch, but in the middle, it's much thicker. And the cambium, what it is it's basically the root system that extends throughout the entire plant, and it brings up water, it brings up nutrients, and it feeds the entire plant. And we're going to take advantage of that cambium to actually graft this onto this, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. So now that that's off, what we're going to do is we're going to take our graft. So we're going to get our sharp knife, and we want as much nodes as possible, right? So it's kind of hard to tell on this plant, on this new dragon fruit plant. But on this plant, as you can see here, we have our nodes, right? And our nodes would be these little thorn areas. This is actually where the dragon fruit buds out of. As you can see here, this growth right here is growing out of a node. So these nodes are actually each a place where you can have a growth. So it's kind of hard to tell where the nodes are on this dragon fruit plant, this new one. So we're going to kind of just take as big a cutting as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a sharp knife, and we're going to cut straight across, straight into the dragon fruit. But we're going to do it gently, okay? Just so it barely has enough pressure to enter. And we're going to stop once we feel something hard in the middle, because that's the cambium. We do not, I repeat, we do not want to cut all the way through the cambium. So let's do it. We're going to cut straight in. No slicing, no cutting, just pushing it straight through until you feel something hard in the middle. All right, so there we go. I feel something hard. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and slide it across. Well, not slide it, but kind of rock it across the entire plant like that, as you can see, while pressing in, meanwhile trying not to slice through the whole plant. Kind of as if you're trying to cut like a corn avocado, you know, stopping like right at the seed. So we're going to do that all the way throughout the whole plant. Flip the knife around, do it to the other side, and then try to match up our incision. So there we go. Cut throughout the whole plant. Yep. So once we do that, let me get this tag out the way. Once we do that, right, we're ready for our next step. So like I said, you don't want to cut throughout across the entire plant. You don't just want to slice the top off. That's not what we're trying to do. We're actually trying to reach the cambium layer in the middle. So we're rocking our knife back and forth, cutting removing as much of that skin as possible. I mean, as much of that flesh off of the cambium. Okay, so once you're satisfied with the amount of work you've done, the next step we're going to do is we're going to take our plants and we're actually going to start twisting, okay? So if you did it right, you should have a bit of give, as you can see right there. Starting to twist. So I'm going to twist gently. I'm making sure not to apply any side pressure. Just twisting, you know. Just twisting a little bit further each time. Hearing some crunches, that's okay. Just make sure not to twist to the side. You don't want to break the cambium. You want it intact, actually. So there we go, twisting. We're releasing the cambium from the dragon fruit itself. Twist a little bit more each time. All right, almost through. I can feel it. And then, so that's pretty twisty, as you can see, right? So that means we're doing a good job right there. Just releasing it. All right, almost through. So that's, I'm getting like, okay, there we go. So, there we go. There's a cambium. It actually reaches throughout the entire dragon fruit. I kind of messed up. It's supposed to like go throughout, like supposed to be like a big long one, but you know what? That's okay. That works for our purposes. So, now that our dragon fruit's off, you can see right there's a hole in the middle. So that's actually what we're going to be using. So one important thing to note is that when you're doing this kind of graft, is you want to make sure that this hole, the hole on the one that's going to slide over the other one, is smaller than the cambium here, because you want the cambium to kind of squeeze in there as much as possible. Make sure it's really touching the sides of the fruit, that there's no gaps. So you want it to kind of like force it on there, if you get my meaning. So we're going to take our graft and we're going to put it out to the side. Now we're going to take our top plant and we're going to kind of measure exactly how much we did, right? We want the cambiums to match. Well, actually, you know, you would, but mine is only goes up to about, you know, right there. So I'm going to measure about that much. So that's about where that is. So I'm going to cut to like right here, right where the bottom is, so it can really match up. So I'm going to do the same thing basically. I'm going to get my knife from the side and I'm going to push down in towards the middle until I reach the cambium. You know, like I said, I'm pushing in. I'm not going from side to side. I'm not slicing. So there I reached the middle. So that's good. We're going to repeat it on the other fin towards the middle. So just push inwards. Trying to be on the same axis as the other one. Perfect. There we go. Slice towards the middle. Overlap it a little bit. We're going to rotate it. And we're going to do the same thing on the last side. Make sure to watch your fingers for the thorns because those things are sharp. So there we go. Push towards the middle. Reach it. There we go. So you can see it popped up a little bit. So all the flesh is pretty much cut off. So now we're going to repeat the same process. We're going to twist it. This is the important one. This is really the one we want to make sure we're twisting it right. So you want to twist it. Make sure you're moving the... Or you know what? Actually, what you can do too is kind of... No, you know what? Yeah, just twist it. Just twist it. Just twist it until you release the cambium from the flesh itself. You know, be gentle. Take your time with this. You don't want to mess up the graft because you only have so much material, as you can see. So just twist it. Pull up while you're twisting to kind of release the cambium from the flesh. You don't want to break the cambium because the cambium is what's the important part. So there we go. Be easier if it didn't have the growths growing from the side of the plant, but you make with what you do. So there we go, twisting. Remove it, releasing the cambium from the plant. There we go. So there's my hole in the middle, and there's my cambium layer. So as you can probably guess right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our scion and we're gonna slide it over the top of the cambium right there. So this cambium is wider, or is wider in diameter than the hole of my scion, which is good. That's what we want because we want it to be as snug as possible. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to match up the hole and then try to slide it over. So I'm gonna do that while twisting to kind of really force it in there, like so. It's only going in so far because what's it called? There we go. So there. Now my scion, I slid it over the top, and there we go. So now I have my graft right there. I slid my scion over the cambium layer of the other plant, like a little sleeve. So now that's pretty firmly attached. And because the cambium of the rootstock was thicker than the diameter of the hole of the scion, we know it's got a pretty nice snug fit. We know there's no air gaps, no nothing in there. So there we go. So you don't want to keep twisting that because that's already on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to gonna break off this little tiny. Just leave it there. So now we want to secure it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our tape that we cut earlier. Our tape. So we're gonna tape one side. We're gonna start from the top, slide it down, give it some tension, and then slide it over our rootstock. There we go. That's one side. We're gonna flip it. Do the same for the other side. Okay. So like I said, tape the side. Then we're gonna slide down, slide over the back, and there we go. That side is on now as well. And then our last side finally. So here we go, take our tape, attach it, and then, oops. And I realized there's a spider running around this video. I just saw it right now, and I've been seeing it in my peripheral. So if you're afraid of spiders, sorry. But there we go, slide it down. And there. So all three sides are secure. And to make it a little bit extra secure, we're going to take our final piece of tape, and we're going to kind of tape both sides together. Right. You can see right there. Yep. So I'm going to take one side, tape it down, slide it across the dragon fruit, and then tape that side down. And then, you know what, just for the heck of it, or there we go. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to do the same for this side as well. But I'm just going to use a full thick piece of tape because, you know, why not? Who doesn't want extra security? So I'm going to tape it down like so, slide it, and then rip it off. So there we go. That's bandaged nice and tight. Got the boo-boo bandage there. All right. So there we go. There is our graft. So now, as you notice, I have two cuttings right here, right? So I left them on intentionally because just in case we messed up the main stock, we had some extra material to work with. It's just that with these new shoots, the cambium is thinner. So it's really just the backup just in case I mess this one up. But we managed to do it. So we don't want any more energy going to here. We want energy going straight into our scion. So what we're going to do is just snip those off to make sure that there's no more energy going, you know. So get my shears again. I'll go ahead and just snip those off. One. And then, you know, you want to cut them off right at the knuckle between the plants and the scion or the rootstock, so that we can just plop it straight into dirt, because as you can see there's barely any flesh exposed. So you're pretty safe to plop it straight into dirt. I've had a pretty high chance of success doing that. In fact, I kind of really only do that. So I'm going to cut this one off too. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and probably plant these to use as future rootstock. So there we go. There is our graft, guys. Nice and not too difficult. There we go. Scary part's over. So now, to finish it off, we want to keep this nice and humid so that this doesn't dry out and it really all sticks together and fuses together. So we're going to take our cellophane and we're going to crinkle it up so that it, you know, we can manipulate it easily. Sorry for the noise. I try to do it away from the camera. So we got our cellophane all crinkled up. There we go. You don't want to crinkle it up too hard. You don't want to put holes in your cellophane. But now we're going to open it up. Get some air in there. I think I'm going to crinkle it up just again, just for safe measure. Alright, so there's our cellophane, guys. Ready for use. So we're going to slide it over our graft as best as we can. There we go. Nice and protected. And for extra protection, I'm going to go ahead and grab my tape. and just seal off the bottom as best as I can. Just wrap it around, making sure to squeeze in the process, really get any excess air out, just like so. Alright guys, and there we pretty much have done it. We have done our graft. So, the scariest part now is just waiting. You're going to have this in the shade. You know, you don't want the sun to be beaming directly on it, or else it's going to dry out your scion, and there's higher chance for the insides to dry out and not fuse in given enough time to the scion, right? So, we're going to keep this in a nice, cool, shady spot for, I'd say around, you know, Richard Lee from Grafting Dragonfruit, he recommends 10 days in the shade with the bag off, and then an additional 5 days in the shade with the bag off. So that's 15 days total. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend that to you guys too. Once again, I said that's Richard Lee's advice from Grafting Dragonfruit. You should check him out. He's really an amazing dragonfruit YouTuber. But yeah, so there we go. There is our graft, guys. Looking pretty good, I'd say. Hopefully, you know, this new rare dragon fruit really takes off and I can show you guys in about a year, because that'll be so freaking cool, guys. But yeah, there we go. Our dragon fruit cutting. Nice little scion right there. Heck yeah, nice little graft. Alright guys, I'll keep you guys updated. We'll see if this really takes off and see what happens in about a year. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or want me to clarify any things that I just did right now today, just let me know, leave a comment, and I'll try my best to answer it. But happy dragon fruit growing, guys. Hopefully you learned something today, and hopefully you guys can replicate this with your own cuttings. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Cactiman out.